The light force of your bond. A power like light itself. Unseen for generations. A dyad in the force.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of DYAD in the Force, episode 205. 205. We're getting up there. We're past the 200s, and when we reach 500, we'll host a rave in Ibiza.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
How's it going, Choco?
I'm doing all right. Just a lot of stuff going on. The construction on my apartment continues, and so they didn't clear out of here until literally 10 minutes ago. And I had everything, like, my computer was off and unplugged. I didn't want to risk nothing, so was able to get it.
Is it general construction for, like, your apartment complex, or are you having something done?
They're going through and they're fixing and changing out all of the windows in all of the apartments.
Gotcha. What's up, guys? Shout out to Kenny. Let's go, early crew. New Bad Batch content. Let's go. We will be talking about that.
Hell yeah.
Master James Kenobi, or as we like to say, Talon Card. Hello there. I'm a Spooky Kitty. I needed this. What's going on, Spooky? You all right? Otherwise, we don't mind if you just generally need DYAD in the Force. Not to kind of...
I mean, I ain't all right. Shoot.
What's going on?
Oh, no. Just watching crazy stuff happening in the world.
Yeah.
Living in Revenge of the Sith. Hoping I'm not going to have to wait, 20 years for A New Hope to... It is what it is.
Yeah, we're gonna need some of that New Hope really quick. It's a bitter feeling, because to some degree you hope that those that brought this upon us, like, gets a taste of it and, like, eat some of that regret cake. Or buyer's remorse, but at the same time, we all get affected by this stuff. But we gotta take the punch, roll with the punches. We have to keep the hope alive, and that's what rebellions are built on, right?
Yeah.
I'm good. Just needed Choco's voice. Okay. I'll let Choco take over this whole episode then.
Yeah, but I won't use my voice.
I'll speak like this.
Now
I see skies of blue, clouds of white.
You are dangerously close to Jedi rocks.
Ooh, lava, cookie, yeah.
Yeah.
My country has lost its humanity, but fuck it. Let's talk Star Wars. We shall talk about Star Wars. In the news, we have a new cover for The Bad Batch, Sanctuary, the new novel by Lamar Giles. This one is set during the events of season 2, so we're still going to get to see some tech, and it'll be about their adventures with the treasure hunter Fee. So it'll be interesting. A lot of Bad Batch girlies out there have been sad without their Bad Batch, but we'll see them come back in August. Which is cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I don't think I've read anything from him, but I do know that he got Lamar Giles. I do know that he wrote a pretty popular Static Shock book a year ago. So that makes me definitely want to I mean, I'm obviously going to check this out, but happy to have more authors in Star Wars, and we'll see what type of flavor he brings.
Yeah, we're all, at least within this kind of close circle, there always day one. Though sometimes we fall behind. So,
yeah. Also, speaking of the Bad Batch, something that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about is the Bad Batch hyperspace stories.
yes, that is true. Dark Horse. I think they've released 3 issues.
Yes, yeah, and the fourth one is coming out in a couple days, next week, actually.
Yeah, I think issue 4 has on the cover of that is Ventress, and it says, and the subtitle is Ventress Revealed. Which, I don't know, she's still blonde. She's still bald on the cover of that, so I'm wondering where in the timeline this is.
Yeah,
I haven't
supposedly,
read it, so.
supposedly it's about how their paths had, unbeknownst to them, kind of crossed before, and it's like a Ventress Aura Singh romp. So we'll see what all it entails.
We can all use the Ventress Aura Singh romp. Just them two.
Listen, I'm telling you, Aura Singh, you know,
She got the double R.
she yeah.
Hear me out. Ido.
I don't know.
From Destiny 2.
Oh, okay. With even with the eyes.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. What did we do with Tally in the mask? We just kind of used our imagination, or
She's always crying black tears.
hey, that's why it's a hear me out. You know,
That's fair. That's fair.
we don't be like, hear me out, Bix. It's like, no, that's a given. That's a gimme right there.
Yeah.
Ken Carey says, serious question. Have you heard of the theory that Luthen could be Rael, Dooku's first apprentice? Thoughts? I don't think his age matches.
I kind of read it as him being Luthen's age back then, like in that book.
Yeah, especially how they read his voice in Master and Apprentice.
Because he would be, you know, a good clip older than Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon was not a spring chicken.
No. It wasn't. So what is the theory then? If you have any more details on that, Kenny. Spooky Kitty says, I remember loving Static Shock, but I don't remember the show at all.
Yeah, I wonder, is it? It's probably on Max. I imagine it'll be on Max. If not, it's probably worth acquiring. I'm definitely gonna listen. It's Black History Month, all right.
What more Ventures content? Let's effing go. I don't know why I censored that, but yeah, that's right. More Ventress. No.
Obi-Wan says,
no Quinlan.
go ahead.
I'm disappointed.
or seeing walk so Ventress could run. I listen. They both do their thing. You know. I just craft, get your noodle going, right? That's a
Well, before Clone Wars, Aura Singh literally just stood. She didn't really do any
there
walking.
menacingly.
Yeah. But then we got Clone Wars. We got more of Aura Singh, and then we got Solo, and then apparently she did. So I don't know. I don't know if she really did walk so Ventress could run. I think Ventress was running before, right? She was in episode 1 of the Clone Wars.
Oh, I mean, Aura Singh was in the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, that's why I said she just stood. So I don't know if Aura Singh in episode 1 walked. Nothing outside of that. The age thing was not even mentioned. Yeah, they should really mention the age thing. Because the only reason that I don't think Luthen is anything that we know is because Rael, to me, doesn't seem like the historian type. It doesn't seem to me like he would, you know, like the biggest key takeaway for Luthen that I got was the signet that he gave Andor, which signified the defense against the Rakatan invaders. And then his museum store or his antiquity store. Like, it doesn't match Rael to me. So I would love to know, like, if the theory is just, hey, I have a theory, Luthen is Rael, then that's not really a lot to go off of. But if there's more that they're pointing to, like, how would you have felt back then with the release of The Force Awakens if the Rey Kenobi theory was just that she has an accent and there was nothing else kind of tying her to it?
I mean, that's how I felt about those theories. There was people who that was their whole argument. There was people who said that.
But that's not. I mean, that's not.
They said that Snoke was Mace Windu because
because of a scar.
Yeah.
No, that's not the entire argument, of course. There were some people that was like, "Oh, she got an accent," but there was the whole thing about, like, you know, Obi-Wan saying her name during her psychometry and division episode, which is like, how does Obi-Wan know who Rey is? You know, obviously Obi-Wan is one with the Force and can see everything that's happening, so possibly knows, but like, there was other things as well pointing to it. I had a whole Rey Kenobi theory video about it, but it was more than the accent, so it's just kind of like, didn't save it, but I'll do a video on it tomorrow. Okay. Only thing I remember from Static Shock was cream soda fountain. Oh,
Cream soda fountain. I don't remember that, but listen, I've always been obsessed with electricity-based powers. You should see my current Titan build in Destiny 2. It's a blast. If you haven't seen it, you wouldn't get it. Anyways.
Mine still remains a freezing jolt build.
You know what? They just made changes to the Radiant dance machines that I think you would enjoy.
Just made changes, or
yeah,
because I remember you used them for the Ascension ability, like refresh.
Yeah, so they reworked them last week, and so essentially now is when you get kills with a primary weapon, it stores a dodge charge, and you can have up to 3 of them stored, but they are true dodge charges. So everything that happens with a typical dodge still occurs. So people have been using them to use Ascension and create a strand clone in the sky, and those clones now draw a lot more aggro, so the enemies are just constantly shooting up, and then you can get your dodge back pretty quickly. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I've always had like, I've always been torn between the potency of the grenades with the current chest that I use versus extra dodge charges, like with Coyote, for example. But we'll see. I mean, the reason my jolts have such potency is because of those charges that drop with the Ascension. They do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Oh, a dyad live. I am awake for it. What's going on, Arcasis? Obi-Shan says she originally had a background similar to Ventress before they changed her to being a bounty hunter. Interesting. Ventress wasn't in Legends, was she?
Actually, yeah, you're right. I do remember Orsing originally in the expanded universe was supposed to be like a former Jedi Padawan turned bounty hunter, and then they just kind of were like, never mind.
Would I join during Rivals talk? I'm so shocked. Nope. We were talking Red Destiny 2.
Starting Destiny 2. There's a new raid that dropped today, but I haven't played it.
Well, me personally, we don't have a group of 6 that's stable. Didn't save it, but I'll do a video on it tomorrow. Gotcha.
VGC says Rivals, though. Yeah. First of all, listen. I'm a straight man, happily married to a lovely woman, but that cap skin, goddamn, new cap skin is hot.
Is that the cap skin with the Wakanda shields?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I haven't played it in a hot minute. I didn't realize how much I needed a break from that. We were on the grind, Nemo. Like, we were on the grind a lot, especially with comp. I got into Enshrouded, and that's like a constant in my mind. But then I also got back into Life is Strange. I'm playing True Colors right now, and I just needed that. I just needed that break from PvP. I needed to be within my feelings and consuming a narrative. I've been actually on a tear with narratives. Just the last 3 weeks, I've read like 6 books. Just I'm currently on book 4. I think, yeah, book 4 of Choco's Cradle series.
The Cradle series.
I'm starting to ship these two, and I'm not sure if I should be or not, but like when Lyndon called Yaren a star and like he got some rosy cheeks afterwards, I was like, oh, okay, we got some high school love going on. It's a great novel series. If you guys want to check it out, it's by Will Wright, and the first book is called Unsouled, as in soul, Souled, and it's called the Cradle series. It's heavily inspired by Shanxia and Chinese martial arts. I got a couple of things that Choco wants to put on screen, so I'll put on screen and let him explain what's happening. So here's the first thing we need to pull on screen. What's that?
Yeah. So that is that's an adult of Nub's species, called the Puba. And he just looks sick as hell. And by the way, that means that eventually Nubs... Why was I going out of focus? That was weird. But eventually Nubs is going to look like that.
He's going to be a lightsaber? Grand Puba.
I mean, that's sick as hell.
That is sick.
I like that as they grow older, they still remain adorable. And his beard is very shapely and lovely.
I mean, that's because of the facial expression, though, right? They're both kind of adorable in their own way, but you can imagine when Nubs is that size and angry, it's going to be very intimidating.
Yeah. You see how long the thing's arms are? Like, shoot, that's got some reach. The lightsaber, you're going to be in trouble.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. I forgot Nubs was a Jedi. Oh.
You know how thick his lightsaber hilt is gonna have to be? It's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be super chunky.
It's gonna be
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello.
There's no delay now. Not sure why there's a delay on TikTok. Delay in audio or just a delay in the stream, because I mean, that happens. There's like a buffer. It's ultra low latency on YouTube though.
Yeah.
I mean, that might as well be his lightsaber that he's like on right now.
I'm hoping he gets like a lightsaber broadsword type thing, like a.
That's a big snack, Malik says. Take them out of that art style. Adult Nubs is terrifying. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I've been saying the same thing about the Ewoks forever. Like, if there were little bears that had opposable thumbs and could wield weapons, we'd all be screwed. Like, that's the most terrifying thing ever. Thank you, Ewok Hunt, for scarring us.
Well, yeah, I mean they're equally terrifying in the dark and like in the forest, and like you only see the pearls of their eyes. They're just like,
yeah.
They got a sharp arrow aimed at you. Full delay.
As scary as bears are, picture one with a spear now that sets traps in the forest. Jesus.
Arcasis says full delay on TikTok. Everything is 30 seconds behind for Samsung users here. Interesting. Ewok Hunt at night without the lights is next level fun. Ewok Blood Massacre, the Yubbening.
The Yubbening, yes.
The Nubbening. Is it just me, but did he look like the monster from Labyrinth?
From Labyrinth? Ludo? Ludo. I can see it. I can see the connection. God, I love the Labyrinth.
All right, next image I will be setting up here. Oh, I didn't want to save it there.
You'll hear Ewok horns in a very different way after playing Ewok Hunt. Yeah. So what Malik Jedi Smark is talking about Ewok Blood Massacre, as we talked about, like if we could do a D&D one shot where all of us play stormtroopers, and we're trying to and we're stuck on Kashyyyk, or sorry, we're stuck on Endor, and are just trying to survive and make it out.
I'm guessing that these particular images, I'll throw them up at one after the other, but I'm guessing this is Luna. Here's this picture. This is something that Choco is, I suppose, excited for.
Look at him. He's glorious. No, it's in the game now. This is the new skin. All of them, I mean, they cost money, and like my, wallet, damn.
I spent
that looks fantastic
on the Star Wars collab with Destiny.
Right? But look at him. Look at the beard, And then he even has the intro where he's like, that's his reveal from the third Avengers movie, where the spear comes after the train passes and he catches it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a man right there. That's a man.
I also said you are excited for it, not in anticipation of its release, but you are getting excited. Present tense.
Physically, yes. True.
Speaking of excited, there's this one right here.
Yeah, and so this is just and I sent that one over just so you can kind of get a glimpse of her hair. She has super long, pigtails in this new skin. But it also comes with a lot of new sound effects and stuff, which are really good, and the emotes on it are incredible.
So are they finally gonna give her an official ult with Le Seraphim Crazy on the behind it?
You know what? Her ult has the same song, but they've kind of made a new version of it that sounds a lot cleaner. But yeah, you'll just have to hop into the game to check it out. But these two new skins are fantastic for the characters.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna have to finish Life is Strange before I consider going back to anything else. Whenever I get started with those narrative games, I'm just like full bore in it.
Oh yeah. No, it's just like the book. Like me with the Cradle series, I didn't stop until I got through them all. I just happened to open up Audible one night and saw that there was a massive sale, and so I was able to get all of the books for it was like $3 each.
Ooh. Arcasa says, "Get that man a shield." If I may, what he says and get this man a shield.
That's a steal. It was a steal. I was even going around looking for other books. Like, is there anything else for me to pick up?
So what'd you pick up?
So everything in the Cradle series, and then I picked up Red Wing, something like that.
Is that a
and then
spin-off book for Falcon?
it's a book series that a lot of people are raving about. Red Rising, either it might be Red Rising.
What's that about?
No idea. Everyone kept talking about it, so I was like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna get it.
Another thing that I'm interested in picking up soonish, as I continue my blitzkrieg through the novels, is the re-release of Shadowhunter. Which has, and this should be great for all those people who really, really dislike canon. It's being read by Sam Witwer. And in the beginning, there's this great message for people who love legends. And gives them a nice little... tells them it was never canon. but we'll see how that is after I read everything that I'm reading right now. How many books do I have left in Cradle?
Don't worry about it. Just keep going with the narrative, and I'll upload the next two. Harris says, Choco, forgot to tell you I ordered a Rock Band 2 Pro drum kit with the cymbals. Should be here tomorrow. That's awesome. So Harris also, are you still streaming? Before you were streaming a lot of Rock Band and Guitar Hero. And so yeah, let us know if you're still streaming that. But man, I missed that. I loved Rock Band. I remember. Wait. Sorry, I'm getting confused because I think one of them first came out with the drums, but it was just like 4 drums, and then the other one was like 3 drums and 2 cymbals. That's the good one. But yes, as someone who actually plays the drums, one thing is we don't realize how hard we actually hit those things. And 2, if you don't play it on the hardest setting, you won't be able to play it at all. It's tough.
I imagine. I mean, for the longest time, like Guitar Hero was pretty chill until I started playing the harder difficulties. I was like, this isn't like playing the guitar at all. And then I got to the point where I was double picking, and then I was hammering instead of, and I was like, oh, this feels a little bit more like it. I never got to try, what was it, Rocksmith or Guitarsmith, the one with the 6 strings. I don't know how that works. Guitar Hero had the half kit. Rock Band had the full kit. I only broke 2 sets. Kenny, I think you mean Chuds. Sam is an actor. He is paid to say this. It's still canon, everyone. Disney Star Wars is still trash. Yeah, I mean, we've been getting a whole host of comments on our Acolyte video. Some of them obviously very, very positive and supportive. And then, of course, we get the usual, minions that come in and say Star Wars is still dead. I'm like, I mean, sure, you think it's dead, but it rules the roost on Disney Plus. And everyone comes back to Disney Plus for the next show, which will be Andor season 2. Another thing that is coming, which should be coming before Bad Batch, is the final book in the High Republic story called Trials of the Jedi. This will be coming out in June, and the cover for it is Spectacularis, as I like to say, as a spell. Now, let me put that up real quick, because it is fantastic. This is the cover for Trials of the Jedi, and it is a full wraparound cover. So you can imagine that around the jacket is going to be a full scene, and we have Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann right there in the foreground, and in the background I think we can see Burryaga, or is that I forgot his name from Edge of Balance. No, that's Burryaga.
Yeah, it's got to be Burryaga.
And that is that Zine? Am I seeing a Mickey-in that I don't recognize?
It looks like they're holding a lightsaber, so I mean, does something change? I don't know.
Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but no, I haven't read any. Nothing has changed with zines in the books that I've caught up with. So either she just gets one and it's a violet lightsaber.
There was a list of who was on the cover. That I'll have to look up. The cover being an awesome poster. Yeah, absolutely.
Was there a list? All I see of the list is Elzar Mann and Avar Kriss.
Belzetifar, please don't kill him. Yeah, Bell better make it through the end. I need him to live a happy, healthy life. And that's why I also need to catch up on the comics. Because I'm pretty sure, didn't Zine and Lula get married? Wasn't that a thing? I thought I saw, spoiler alert, I thought I saw an image of that, but that might have just been a fan thing.
Yeah, I'll have to read. That's something that I haven't caught up with is Adventures, and the main run of High Republic.
There's so much to catch up with, and plus, other books. Also, Marvel and DC have been cooking. You know what I mean? Like, so even with the mainstream stuff, there's been a lot there.
Dark Horse too.
Yeah. And then also there's just the whole stuff going on in the world, getting you stressed out and just wanting to go to sleep, type things. That happens as well.
Yeah, I think we see Ember right there, right in front of Burryaga. Behind the Mickey-in, but in front of Burryaga. The key takeaway from this cover is that their battle armor, which kind of resembles Sator, which is pretty dope. They say, as Soule says of the book, the stakes are as high as they could possibly get. And he wants to make sure that Trials of the Jedi can serve as an introduction to the galaxy far, far away at its best. The era is still open for future storytelling. Future books and comics will not be tied directly to this initiative. Interesting.
Okay. And I mean, it makes sense now that the time period is set. They would still be able to tell stories, and future stories would likely be one-offs that don't have to conform to that overarching narrative, which is a great thing.
Or like before, back in time.
Yeah, I think that they have hit the maximum, probably overdid it with the books and the narrative, because there's just a lot to keep up with, but it is what it is.
His quote was something like, "It's a tornado of events and how it starts chaotic at the top, but the deeper you go, the more focused it becomes as the fate of characters are decided in a few pages." Listen, Charles. Are we going to have to go through this Light of the Jedi crap where it's like the first chapter is like, and so the Jedi mustered their and rallied their
Mustard. Sorry, you said it.
they rallied their knights and they charged on the they charged on the Gaze Electric and everyone died. I remember first time reading Light of the Jedi and everybody like what was one of them? Tiami? Just the Rhodian Jedi. There was like 6 Jedi that I was like, oh, that's cool. And they all died in that one. That's all.
Yeah.
Scene.
Something else. People have been talking about. Disney Plus reported that it lost 700,000 subscribers. Curious what you think about that. People are saying, yeah, it's failing because it's woke and they're too focused on the message or whatever, their agenda.
Those people would be dumb.
Yeah, no, those people are dumb. So
I mean,
it has.
We go through
so
content
Disney
droughts all the time with streaming platforms. Like Netflix regularly loses subscribers when there's nothing big out.
So Disney Plus currently has 124.6 million subscribers.
This would be like akin to saying that World of Warcraft lost 700,000 subscribers.
Yeah, that's
WoW is dead. WoW has been dying for 12 years.
And by the way, I'm not like, it's not like I'm loyal to it. In all honesty, there's not a whole ton that goes on Disney Plus. It's just the release of very specific shows is the only reason I keep it up. And were it not for content creation, I probably would subscribe like for 1 month out of each quarter and catch up on everything. But it is. But that's fine. Basically,
I'm also subscribed for other people in the household and my siblings too. Because I
that's
have
true.
I have the Hulu subscription, so people watch that too. So
and that's the other thing. So not only do they have 124.6 million subscribers, meaning losing 700,000 is 0.07.
Yeah, that's barely a percent.
Yeah, it's less than 1%. But on the Hulu side, they added like 1.2 million.
Oh, okay. So they ended up in the green on that particular exchange.
Essentially, they raised their prices, and so some people left. That's really what it seems like.
Yeah, I mean that's the case.
But we just had to talk about it here because I kept seeing people like, yeah, down with them, they lost, and you're like, God, you're dumb. It hurts.
I mean, they have a message and they have an agenda, and they're going to keep on pushing it down people's throats. Not Disney Plus, the chuds.
Yeah.
Right? No matter how much.
And it's like I've been saying for years. The Chud channels are only fans for incels, right? They are paying to watch their favorite content creator deep throat the content.
Yeah. And no matter how much content is out there that doesn't really isn't really egregiously like in your face about diversity and stuff, it's only the Chud channels that are talking about it. A new movie will come out and we'll be like, that either looks good or it doesn't look good. We'll see when it comes out. And no one is talking about diversity or anything to that degree. And only the Chud channels will be talking about it. And that's why you guys have it on your mind 24/7. It's because they have it on their mind and you can't stop watching that crap.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're like reading books, we're watching shows, we're watching movies, and we're talking about the stuff that is within those things, the stories, the content itself. Arcasis says, careful now, I'm a retired WoW player. So am I. And I wouldn't say retired, so tour player too, because I really do genuinely want to get back into it.
Yeah.
I like rewatching Star Wars and Marvel stuff on top of the kids' movies. Not really for kids. What?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Also, I've been meaning to just throw on The Simpsons. Like, there's like... Straight up, there's like 16 years of Simpsons that I haven't seen any of. That I could just kind of toss it on in the background while I'm doing stuff and grinding on stuff, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the draw for some platforms that just host a catalog of really, really awesome legacy content, is that you can throw that stuff on when you just need white noise, you know? And that's the case with Disney Plus. It has especially with the acquisition of Fox and stuff like that, it has a whole host of really old movies. It has the old X-Men movies now, which obviously isn't MCU canon, but sometimes you like to go back and revisit that stuff. I have a declaration, Kenny says. We need the release of full series of Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance in steel cover DVDs. That's not
Agreed.
happening.
I mean, I feel they would sell fairly well, but
It would if it was limited in stock and $250. Because physical media is on the way out. They're already, I mean, this industry has already made great pains to make it clear that we can't own anything anymore. I will warn you, Sator community has not changed much. I checked in a few months ago and saw a guild of basically nudies. Oh, like just like not wearing anything, like just bikini Sith? Is that what you mean? I don't know what nudies mean. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean that reaches far past and transcends the tour communities. It's that's why we're kind of dejected at the moment. You know, I really want, because my parents are unfortunately Trump supporters, and I really want to say to them, like, do you know how I know you worship him? Because Jesus could rise, or Jesus could descend from the heavens and in all of his glory speak against Trump, and they would crucify him again. That's how bad it is with those people. I'm not even Catholic, but I mean, like, I'm not a practicing Catholic. I'm atheist. I grew up Catholic, but like, I would believe that if it were to happen and that Jesus was against Trump, they would ostracize him again. They would crucify him.
He'd be locked up in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, they would torture him. Everything. You know, and that's what makes it sad. Like, as an atheist, like, if if God came down themselves and was like, I'm tired of this, and just like started speaking to all of the religious people, they would stop believing in God. Nah, Jesus. In favor
Jesus
of
would be
Trump.
like, listen, you have to love your neighbor, and everyone's your neighbor, and also take care of the poor and stuff like, and that sort of thing. And then they would call him a libtard.
Chase Canoe says Jesus wouldn't get through customs. Yeah, they wouldn't. They would try to deport Jesus back to heaven. But at least we have each other, guys. At least we have each other, We are the rebellion right now. And we just gotta lace up, suit up, and continue to fight. Because this guy is saying he might be able to run again. And I swear to God, if this country bows and bends the knee and they change the term limits of the presidency for this douchebag, I am gonna lose. I'm gonna become the embodiment of the Futurama meme. I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
It's funny you say that, because that's something that Richard Nixon was actually talking about in the past, and that was one of the inspirations for Star Wars. The Emperor is based off of Richard Nixon, and what Nixon was doing was what motivated George Lucas to write it this way.
Yeah. Shout out to Patricia Jackson. Long live the rebellion. #resist. Absolutely. Shout out to Denzel Green. What's going on, Denzel? Probably give him one of those nicknames, Joking Jesus. They'll probably say G's Suspect or something like that. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
Andor season 2 can't get here soon enough,
I mean, Rise of Skywalker already been here. Somehow Palpatine returned. I'm almost to the point to join Luthen. We're at the worst Saw. Seriously, we're getting really close to that time. I mean, I would join Luthen for sure. I mean, I consider myself a rebel at this point. Shout out to Heroes and Villains for our awesome Rebel Squadron or Rebel Scum denim jackets. After M's post today, I can't unsee Clone Wars Palpatine as Nixon.
Oh, I didn't see her post today. But yeah, is that what she did? Yeah, because I mean, George talked pretty openly about it. I think I'm going to start covering a lot more of that stuff. My next video is probably going to be on Trader's Remorse.
Now, I've been posting this and I've been teasing this on Blue Sky and Instagram for quite some time, for the past week. If you guys aren't aware, my Acolyte prequel fanfiction audiobook will be premiering right now. I'm just kidding. During the show. And I have been hard at work. Choco and I have been hard at work on chapter 2. And can't wait for you guys to listen to it. We're trying our best to, as we do as lore masters, remain canon adherent, but not be so stubborn in that. But we, at least for writing AUs and fan fictions, I like to adhere to canon just so that, like, for those that are following it, it's just that much easier to know what's going on, just to kind of establish a continuity here. And so I'm hoping I didn't have a lot of runway in terms of, well, I didn't have any runway when it comes to like getting editors and stuff for this. So this is very much a grassroots endeavor, a grassroots movement. And I hope you guys enjoy chapter 1 of The Pupil. And, you know, Denzel Green says fingers still crossed for a Chimera continuation at some point. Way too good of a character. Yeah. That's largely why, you know, I started this. But we're cooking. Choco and I are cooking. We were, you know, our last writing session, we got some pretty, I was about to say gnarly. I don't know why. I don't say gnarly. We got some really great ideas.
Nars. Narballs, bro.
What can you say without revealing too much about what we thought of in the last session?
It's good as hell.
It's all going to make sense. It's all going to connect. That's for sure. Is Andor under Jon Favreau team or one of the others?
One of the others.
Yeah, but Andor is still under Filoni as the.
I mean,
creative.
everything's under Filoni right now.
A better way to say this is it's still under Lucasfilm. It's still under the story group, you know. And whether you like a show or not, it's the same people that's been, you know, doing it forever.
Yeah, it's I just point out the separation because, you know, people will look to John and Dave as the saviors of Star Wars when some of the best stuff that we have coming out is not from them, right? So, you know, like that and you know, the Bad Batch, Dave Filoni still gets credit for when that's not him, that's Jen Corbett. You know, but it's all still Star Wars and he oversees everything. But there's no verses. It's one big house that is looking to make the best stuff that they can.
Yeah, there was also something in the news about the new writer for New Jedi Order. I forget their name. There's talking about George Nolfi, the writer of Bourne Ultimatum. Has signed on for New Jedi Order. And
all the Bourne movies just kind of blend together in my brain, so I couldn't tell you which one that is.
And they were talking about like how he wants to honor George Lucas' tradition of political narratives. Oh, some chuds are going to be angry about the politics in my Star Wars. Well, the writer cites George Lucas. He says, you know, Star Wars has always been political. He's always used it as a vessel for storytelling with, you know, politics, with what's going on in the world. A lot of it during the original trilogy was contemporary at that time, contemporaneous to the Vietnam War. And then, you know, we could say like the prequels is contemporaneous of today with the trade wars. Jeez. Oh my gosh.
Not only that, but George was very specific in, you know, the reasoning behind the prequels was to show how a good person can become evil and how dictatorships form, and that they come out of democracies, and it's like, because he pointed directly to because remember the Trade Federation started to have its own senatorial power and was viewed like a plan. So that was one of his big things, is once corporations hold political power, that's like the downside, that's like the omen of the end. And we're like, God damn it.
That actually reminds me. I was thinking about this. Do you think that do you think that the Bane trilogy, at least if you distill it down to its simplest narratives, is the prequel trilogy? All right, so the first one is the origin of a Force user that ends in a battle that comes down to one simple thing that ends the battle. Okay, I'm just distilling it down to its finer details. Then the second one is a separatist movement led by someone from Sereno. and then a hunt for the Sith, right? So that's kind of like Obi-Wan and Anakin going after Count Dooku, and then he gets away. And then
I see what you're saying, but that's like if you squint, if you squint really hard, and it's super
what I'm
far
saying
away.
is it has a lot of bones of the prequel trilogy. Even in Dynasty, you know, a lot of what happens between I forget her name.
You were my daughter, Xana.
Yeah, basically.
You betrayed me.
Yeah. I don't, it's not a one-to-one. I'm not saying Bane is just a complete copy. Just like the people who say the sequel trilogy is a complete copy of the originals. No, Bane has a lot of the framework of the prequels, basically. And like the Dynasty of Evil is just another euphemism for the Revenge of the Sith. It just doesn't happen that the Jedi Order is destroyed at the end, but you know. But I'm excited for George
I
Nolfi.
can't see it, but
I'm excited for George Nolfi. My two favorite from the Bourne series is Supremacy and Ultimatum. So I'm intrigued as to if we're going to see Rey being born. Just kidding. No, I'm excited because
Jason Bourne. I just don't. I just remember not liking how the fight scenes were cut because you couldn't see what the hell was happening in one of those movies. I can't remember.
It was
which
the
one.
first one. The first Bourne, the Bourne Identity was heavily like nighttime shots, very cutaway, and then Bourne Supremacy. He had that one fight with the dude with the book in one of those pueblos.
Hey, what's up, Charles?
So they really started, and I think that was Bourne Supremacy was the start of I forget his name, Joey Anzi, doing the action coordination for that. And so from Supremacy to Ultimatum, they had really great like medium shot fight scenes that just displayed everything.
Okay, I might have to revisit it.
Hope you guys are going well. We are going well. We are actually about to premiere the Acolyte prequel that we're writing. And I think we should do it now as part of our lore segment. Right?
Yeah, that works.
All right, guys. As you know, this will release as a VOD by itself a little after this episode. So don't worry if you miss it. I hope you guys enjoy it, and feel free to leave feedback in the chat when we're done. We'll be back after this. So let me stop the music.
That's going to be a
member of the DYAD Squadron.
Shout out to Cal4, member for 42 months. Gotta rep the screenplay. Yeah.
Hey,
We'll be back after this.
back again.
Chapter 1. The lights dim, the corridor still. Only the clacking of a wooden stick accompanied by heavy footfalls from a pair of leather boots echoed rhythmically. The temple grounds were calm. In the hour of twilight on Coruscant, foot traffic in the temple hushed. While most residents returned to their creches and quarters, only the caretakers and appointed seneschals remained to ease the noise of the day to rest. It had not even been a full cycle after the diminutive Jedi had bestowed the rank of Master to another. Yet they had already sought his counsel.
I'm sorry to disturb you, Master.
The figure loomed.
Master Vernestra, bothering you something is.
Yoda replied as he continued to walk through the corridors, Geimer stick clacking on the floor for his usual nightly rounds.
I have yet to determine that, actually.
Vernestra brushed off her robes as they matched the Master's pace. Her breathing made apparent that she had rushed to meet Yoda at the first chance.
Choose another learner, I believe you will.
Correct. One has certainly caught my eye.
Vernestra responded rushed. Yoda stopped walking.
Much trouble I sense in you.
As you know, I've had many Padawans over the years. At the behest of the High Council, I am to take another.
She trembled in her speech increasingly.
But in this one, all I see is darkness.
Yoda picked up his stick and pressed it against Vernestra's lower thigh.
Careful, Master Vernestra. Mindful we must be of our own feelings. Much like an unyielding vine, fear grows. Pruned it must be, clothed.
Vernestra took a moment to collect her thoughts.
I understand, Master. But we must also be mindful that in our efforts to prune the vine, it may yet choose another unwieldy path.
She sighed heavily before continuing.
Still, perhaps there's more to this initiate that I have yet to see.
Natural this is to feel. Dwell on this you must not. Wise are your words.
Yoda responded, returning to an earnest pace through the corridor.
Remember, if believe you do, that darkness surrounds him. Abandon him do not. Guide them you must. Hold the light that will show them the way.
She rushes to match his pace again.
I'm concerned it may not be so easy for Myrrell.
Much ambition I sense in Myrrell Kai. Difficult his path is, as is all of ours. But his path it must remain. Guide him you will.
Yoda raises his stick to Vernestra's waist and shakes his head. Yoda continues down the corridor, disappearing into the jet black vignette of a slumbering hall. As Yoda faded from visual perception, she bowed, whispering to herself.
I shall reflect on your teachings, Master.
Vernestra had been a Jedi Knight, a Wayseeker even longer, and now a Master. She was always disciplined, followed the Jedi Code as closely as she could. She knew it was but a guiding passage for all Jedi to connect to the Force. But it was only natural that some would also quickly perceive it to be some code of conduct. The truth was, no one in the Order believed the code could be followed to the letter. She understood the difficulty of passing on knowledge, from one Padawan to the next. Each came with their own unique idiosyncrasies. It was in interpretation as well. You could say one thing with the intention of teaching something very specific, only to have your student interpret it in an entirely different way. Non-attachment was a particularly tenuous concept to teach to younglings. Children were brought to the temple at a young age before these attachments could form, but as they grew older and were taught to understand social concepts, they would naturally question the very nature of its stricture. Mentor to student, master to apprentice, attachments were a given. Many students reconciled with this by replacing the word attachment with possession, obsession. This very concept was one that Padawan Myrrell Kai had yet to fully grasp. The transition had been surprisingly smooth. When Vernestra had chosen him as her next Padawan, it hadn't been on his radar. He had been practicing forms with the other initiates when he had received the news. He always felt as though he blended in, that he didn't stand out. His daily routine was as normal as it could ever be. He hadn't been singled out by instructors, nor had he been particularly troublesome. He was an ordinary Jedi initiate. The following years had gone by with no incident. Vernestra had picked her moments to teach him, and he was confident in his applications of her teachings. These fleeting thoughts poured into his mind as he found himself on a mission with his master to free Togrutan slaves. Muriel caught the repulsor disc in midair, rotating his body into a flip to land gracefully. The child opposite from him was in awe. Muriel smiled back.
That was a great throw, Aruni!
Muriel shouted. The child jumped in excitement with his Leku flopping joyfully.
Hurry! Throw it back!
This was all Muriel could do to pass the time. As they began their mission, her master would usually handle all the most difficult tasks. As her Padawan, he was responsible for tending to the refugees and making sure they had what they needed. But they were all survivors, hardened through adversity. They didn't need to be waited on. But Aruni was a different story. The only child in this batch of survivors. It was an ominous foreboding for the Togrutan people. But they would survive and recover from all of this. Aruni readied himself.
Don't go easy on me.
Alright, here we go!
As Muriel prepared to throw the repulsor disc back, an explosion rocked the rear of the camp in which they were sequestered.
What's going on?
Aruni yelled. Muriel looked over at Aruni and waved his arms.
Aruni, run!
Aruni understood immediately and took off into the hands of his mother, who was watching him play happily from the wings. Vernestra rushed to Muriel's side.
Padawan, it's time to move. The Zygerians have managed to quicken their pace. Get everyone ready to depart immediately. I will hold them off with a rear guard.
She darted off in the direction of the explosions as several Togrutan warriors joined her side. As part of an ongoing effort to dismantle remnants of the Zygerian slave empire, Muriel and his master Vernestra Rowe were part of an independent contingent of Jedi tasked with extracting Togrutan slaves from the moon of Selrak. The empire had been upended throughout the centuries, but the Zygerians always found a way to operate on the outskirts of authority. Though the initial assault on the Zygerian citadel had not been particularly chaotic, this ambush had shaken Muriel's foundation. He watched Togrutans fall one after another. An uncertain stillness pervaded amidst the audacity of the goings-on around him. However, sound and vibration returned to him as he refocused his mind and recalled his master's words. He shuffled back to the front of the camp where he began filing refugees into their cargo speeders. It was chaotic. The noise from the battle drowned out the noise of the horror. He did his best to shield the survivors from debris and fallout. As the last of the transports were ready to depart, he saw him, Aruni, alone and crouched in place, his mother at his feet, lifeless. Muriel looked back at the transport ready to depart and back at Aruni. His feet moved on their own as he bolted towards him. Using the force to propel himself, he slid to the child, catching him in embrace and covering his head.
I've got you,
Muriel whispered.
Mommy!
Aruni cried in Muriel's arms. Muriel placed Aruni on the ground and held him by his arms.
We must go, Aruni. Your mother is with the Force now. You must be strong. Can you be strong for me?
Aruni choked up and fought back even more tears.
Aruni can be strong. I will be strong.
All right, let's go.
Muriel took Aruni's hand. He wasn't prepared for what he saw next. As Muriel and Aruni made for the transport, his heart sank. He stopped in his tracks, his face filled with horror. Aruni stopped to look up at Muriel, confused. The last transport was gone, buried beneath a massive rock pile. He could only see what appeared to be someone's leg jut out from underneath. He fell to his knees and began to scream, his eyes welling up and his emotions overflowing. But there was no time for him to process. The shrapnel and debris from countless explosions rang Vernestra's ears. Her face was muddled with ash and microburns. As she climbed the mesa, the Zygerians rained down on the encampment with mounted rotary cannons. As she approached the main force, she ignited her light whip and began routing threat after threat. It was a graceful display of acrobatics and precision. A glowing purple stream raced through the ranks in an omnidirectional array of slashes, snaps, and flicks. Lashing her way through scores of Zygerians, she was a blur, her movements and agility marked by the sonic crackle that followed. The Jagrutans, who had taken up arms to fight their oppressors, had marveled at her elegance and speed, but the only thing going through Vernestra's mind was far from beauty. It was visceral. Her face marred and scored by the aftermath of her deluge, it was but a brief glint in her mind, a swift wailing in the Force. She turned back to see the destruction, not in her wake, but the destruction wrought by the Zygerian weapons. Myrrel was surrounded by blaster fire, holding on to a single child.
Myrrel,
she whispered to herself amidst the pandemonium of the conflict. She gestured to the Jagrutans who had flanked her. They boarded a Zygerian skiff recently abandoned and made their way back to the camp with haste. Vernestra had returned with surviving Jagrutan warriors in a small skiff.
Myrrel, get on.
She grabbed Myrrel and Aruni and helped them on board. Vernestra signaled as the skiff darted off. They watched as Myrrel's face was filled with shock. As the noise of the explosions died down, she looked around at the destruction. She sighed to herself and dropped to a seated position. As the skiff rocked back and forth, she swayed, catching her breath, but the look on Myrrel's face would forever be etched onto her memory. His eyes wide, his breathing a rhythmic beat. By his side, Aruni, arrested with fear, but also looking up at him, equally concerned. In the aftermath of the last extraction off Selrak, Myrrel was never the same. Aruni had been entrusted with a family member who had survived, but unable to share a farewell. They never saw each other again. Myrrel proceeded through the rest of the mission and returned to Coruscant as if droning through it all. Vernestra tried to reach Myrrel several times on the way, but to no avail. The Force trembled in their wake. As Vernestra awaited their arrival to Coruscant, she fell into yet another hyperspace-induced trance. Something she had learned to control long ago. This time, it had found a way to intrude upon her mind forcibly. It was an emptiness that pulsed a shadowy enmity. There were no visions to be had with this trance. A void filled with a throbbing animus. The moment they landed on Coruscant and the ramp had lowered, Myrrel had finally spoken for the first time. As Vernestra disembarked from the passenger ship, Myrrel stopped her.
I think I finally understand what non-attachment means.
But before she could respond, Myrrel had walked off, blank expression in tow. That encounter had shaken her. Having only just exited her hyperspace trance, she couldn't even find the words to respond. As her senior by centuries, Vernestra had always respected the wisdom of Yoda. Though his recent counsel had been less than enlightening, Yoda had espoused what he had always told others. But that was his way of letting his students and others arrive at the answers to their questions. It wasn't lost on Yoda that some situations required a bit more heft and personal touch. Perhaps it was a bit hasty to approach him only hours from her appointment to Master. She decided to let Myrrel decompress on his own. They would approach him with the dawn of a new day.
I did the right thing.
Myrrel had awoken from his sleep, breathing heavily. Just a glint of what had happened just days ago in his mind was all the reminder he needed of the terror of his choice.
I saw it coming.
As he sat up in his bed, his palms covered his face.
I had no choice. I didn't want to die.
Myrrel's terrors were shaken loose as Vernestra had hailed his comlink. The sound of her voice screeched in through static.
Myrrel, are you awake?
Yes, Master.
He rubbed his face and shook his head.
What is it?
Her voice crackled.
I was on my way to debrief the lower council. Did you want to accompany me?
Yes, of course.
Myrrel responded robotically.
Meet me in the garden by the great tree.
He left his bed and proceeded to put on his temple regalia. As soon as the horrors had left his subconscious, the same vacant expression he had assumed upon landing returned to him. He was suppressing something deep inside. During their hyperspace jump from the Selrak system to Coruscant, he found solace in the Jedi Code, oddly enough. The words helped center him. In this very moment in his life, "there is no emotion" was the most profound wisdom he could ever cling to, though the words he had always heard speaking that line had never sounded so dreadful.
There is no emotion, no chaos, no victory. You will lose all that you hold dear until that emotion roils, until your anger and your hatred are sated. Those that are now lost do not revere your solace. They condemn your tranquility. They move to suffocate your equilibrium.
As Muriel arrived in the garden, he spotted Vernestra standing beneath the branches of the great tree, eyes closed. The Uneti tree stood towering over the garden for generations. The great tree witnessed the transition of the Old Republic. It had lived through the wars with the Sith and the Mandalorians, the fall of Starlight Beacon, the passing and coming of Grand Masters. Throughout times of great chaos and imbalance, the Uneti remained steadfast.
Why do we always meet here, Master?
Muriel approached Vernestra still in a meditative stance. She opened her eyes slowly.
I thought you knew.
I've always wondered.
Muriel's thoughts drifted as he stared at the gnarled branches.
We Mirialans foster a strong bond with nature. This tree, for all its mysteries and boundless tales, has the perplexing ability to mute the turbulence of the Force.
She explained.
Turbulence?
Muriel questioned.
As Jedi, we have a strong connection to the Force. But that also means that the dark side is equally pervasive and ever watchful. The darkness finds no host in this tree.
He had met with his master under the great tree several times already since becoming her Padawan, and not once did he stop to consider how peaceful he had felt when standing in its presence. Even the blank look in his face had receded slightly. The Uneti tree was known for being Force-sensitive, but Muriel found it fascinating that it could somehow ease the darkness in the Force.
Now that you mention it...
Muriel found to caressing a budding leaf from the great tree.
I do feel oddly at peace.
Vernestra's brows knitted briefly.
Oddly. Come. We'll report to the lower council about our mission to Selrak.
Yes, Master.
Muriel snapped out of his gaze at the tree. As Vernestra and Muriel both entered the lower council chambers, the other council members were taking their seats. The atmosphere of the lower council always felt a bit more active and less solemn. While matters concerning the Order and the Republic entire was brought before the High Council, the lower council dealt with matters directly under the Jedi Order's purview, missions that were strictly under the Jedi's jurisdiction. This allowed for more streamlined logistics, where the Jedi of the High Council were often preoccupied with maneuvering the politics of the Galactic Senate. The lower council could operate autonomously. Vernestra addressed the council members.
Members of the council, I'm here to debrief everyone on our mission to Selrak. We lost many in our endeavor to free the slaves in the sector under Zygerian control. But in those sacrifices, we've come this much closer to undermining the remnants of their slave empire.
The Quarren Jedi Master Nedek Modi stood up, raising his hand.
How many slaves were liberated from their oppressors?
According to the Anti-Slavery Committee, we have relocated and settled approximately 2,400 refugees.
She responded. To her surprise, the newest council member, Jedi Master Rovail Tundar, a human of middle age, found her voice.
Master Vernestra, to this date, how many slaves have we liberated through this ongoing endeavor to quash the surviving slave trade?
The human rubbed their chin, pondering.
So far, we have liberated 2 moons in the Selrak sector. As of today, around 6,000 slaves have been freed.
Vernestra reported from her prepared datapad. Master Rovail continued.
And to this date, how many casualties have you suffered?
Vernestra was taken aback. What was supposed to be a normal debriefing had suddenly turned into a hearing. She felt an underlying disdain in Nedek's voice, and Master Rovail, although new to the lower council, had always had a very introverted disposition. The eyes of the lower council bore into her, prickly thorns finding purchase beneath her skin. Beyond the sudden shift of discourse, she did not expect this line of questioning, and it had raised her defenses.
I don't see how that is relevant, Council Member.
Oh, it very much is so. I'm starting to think the Zygerians will never truly be snuffed out. We've been fighting this fight since before even Grandmaster Yoda joined the Order.
Rovale snapped back.
So, I say again, casualties?
Vernestra placed her hands on her datapad behind her and took a stalwart stance towards Master Rovale.
We lost 32 Jedi Knights, and 232 civilian refugees.
And do you think this endeavor worth the losses?
She snapped back immediately.
We are trying to quell the remnants of the Zygerian slave empire, Council Member. There will be sacrifices, and those sacrifices will be honored by those who survived.
While Vernestra and Rovale went back and forth about numbers, increasingly eschewing decorum, Muriel kept fidgeting, as if he held deeply onto something sealed within an airlock, fighting to be released. The voices were erratic, compulsory of an unnecessary frenzy. It was not just Rovale and Neddick speaking with barbed voices. The lower council's hushed clamoring began to claw at him. Rovale continued.
At this rate, we'll be fighting Zygerian insurgents and trafficking cells across the Outer Rim for the next century.
She sighed and reset herself.
Have you taken enough steps to minimize these casualties?
Neddick Modi interjected.
This will go over well with the Galactic Senate.
The voices in the gallery had increased in volume. More and more Jedi had risen to contribute to the cacophony of strife. Some were reverberating the same question. Others had taken to bombarding Vernestra with what could only be heard as gibberish amidst the racket of the chambers.
I assure you, Masters, steps were taken to...
Vernestra was quickly interrupted again by Neddick Modi.
It is clear that this undertaking is above the capabilities of even the Jedi Order.
She was shocked at what was transpiring. There it was again. It had followed from her hyperspace trance. Their visit to the Great Tree had only silenced it briefly. A gust of darkness had taken the chambers, a miasma that threatened to destabilize the foundations of the Jedi Order. It felt as though a heavy blanket had been thrust upon the council chambers. Vernestra reflected on her time fighting the Drengir and the Nameless. The feeling was similar. It had all the telltale signs of the dark side, but this was different. That time, it was indiscriminate. It was primal. This invisible fog had intention, it had purpose, and above all, it had a target. The voices of dissent had all begun to harmonize in a furor that demanded Vernestra's submission. Muriel could do nothing but abide by the proceedings. He was only a Padawan after all. What could he offer to this very official and very proper conversation? He fidgeted with himself, eyes darting from one master to another as they rose up in protestation. The noise was increasingly weighing on him. Her master was respected by all measures within the Order, and yet the respect she commanded was almost non-existent. The words shouted from one end of the chamber to the other were edged. They began to slice through the thinning air, and Muriel caught every single glancing ricochet.
Council members!
Vernestra found the resolve to speak in volume, to snuff out Neddick and Rovale's badgering.
There is a malice within these chambers that even now would wish us fight amongst ourselves.
Neddick and Rovale looked at each other.
This is ridiculous,
Neddick responded. More voices from the gallery amplified the confrontation. It all began to trill in unison. Neddick had left his seat and was now standing in the aisle looking up to address the gallery.
To think that you ridicule these halls of malice is unbecoming, Master Vernestra.
Rovale had also left her seat and was now addressing Vernestra within arm's length.
These chambers are sacred. Are you suggesting that we have all succumbed to the throes of darkness?
It is clear you are the one being tempted.
Neddick pointed at Vernestra.
Listen to yourselves.
She stepped forward in front of Master Rovale.
I know we are encouraged to avoid the darkness, but that does not mean we turn a blind eye to its machinations.
So now we are delusional, is that it?
Neddick responded. The gallery hollered and clamored. Neither side had support. Even those in the adjacent mezzanine had begun to point fingers, and they weren't even directly linked to the proceedings. Muriel had now resorted to covering his ears with his hands. The noise was too much for him. A vortex of malcontent intruded onto his mind. He couldn't tell whether it was the noise of the chambers or something else entirely, his breathing rapid.
I resent these accusations.
Rovale yelled.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Vernestra asserted. Rovale waved her hand to dismiss her.
That is enough, Master Rowe.
This had never happened before, Vernestra thought. In her time in the Jedi Order, meetings of the Council had always fallen on decorum. Dignity reigned over pride, and yet on this very day, something had taken the atmosphere, siphoned it of all its renown. The vortex morphed into intelligible words. An amorphous voice spoke to Myrrell as the shouting match continued within the chambers. He couldn't tell where the voice was coming from, but it didn't matter to him. All he could do was cover his eyes and ears and shield himself from the verbal brawl.
These are your masters. They see not your turmoil. They heed not your tumult. The Force is ever so one-sided. You must tip the scales into balance, into the dark side.
You are not qualified to be in these chambers.
Nedic finally shouted. Before Vernestra could fire back, Myrrell snapped. His hands flailed. A wave emerged from his hands and pulsated outward, shoving Vernestra and Master Rovale to the side.
Stop!
His voice echoed over hushed acoustics. Papers and journals whisked in the air. Master Rovale had summoned a barrier around herself. Nedic had even unclipped his lightsaber from his belt by instinct. The tension in the room had reached its apex. Vernestra had been pushed to the ground, caught off guard. She turned to Myrrell to see his hands outstretched, breathing intensely. She recoiled slightly and reached out.
Myrrell.
Nedic scolded Vernestra.
Master Vernestra, stay your Padawan!
Vernestra raised her hand as if to shush the Quarren. Seeing this, Nedic guffawed and looked at his peers around him as if to summon support. There was none. All eyes peered at the single Padawan in the chambers, hunched over. She approached Myrrell, his hands perched on his knees, panting heavily towards the floor, trying to brace himself. Myrrell mustered up the courage to finally speak as his breathing reached a rhythmic crescendo.
It was all my fault.
What was your fault?
She replied. Myrrell hesitated ever so slightly, but the time had passed for him to hold onto truth.
I saw the Zygerian's ion cannon fire. I knew it was coming. I made a choice.
She approached cautiously and with care.
Myrrell, stop.
Master Rovale chided Vernestra.
Enough, Master Vernestra.
She continued to press Myrrell.
Go on, Padawan.
I ran from the rescue transport. I let those people die.
The council chambers collectively gasped, with sporadic murmuring traveling from one end of the chamber to the other. As Myrrell fell to his knees, Vernestra dashed in to embrace him.
You saved a child. I saw you.
She consoled Myrrell. Myrrell had let loose a pained whine. Under stuttered breaths, he responded.
Because I ran. I chose to abandon the transport. I didn't want to die.
Tears began to well up in Myrrell's eyes.
Rooney was the only one left.
Suddenly, the chamber door swung open. The light from the corridor had shone in as everyone's arms had instinctually gone up to shade themselves from the bright light. Clickety-clack. The eyes that had bored into Myrrell had shifted. Clack-clack. It was though the oppressive atmosphere had lifted. Rovale and Nedic both examined themselves as though waking from a horrible dream. Nedic saw his lightsaber in his hand and clipped it immediately, surveying the room and making sure no one had seen it. Click-clack. There he was, Master Yoda. The cloud that had been clawing at Myrrell had subsided, but he was still racked with guilt, slumped on the ground crying. The small green Grandmaster had joined. He tapped his cane on the floor once more.
Finish your report, you will.
Yoda looked at Vernestra. As Vernestra struggled to speak through the recent revelation of her Padawan, the council chamber fell silent. Master Rovale chose to return to her seat, stunned at the admission. Nedic Modi similarly sat back down in his chair. The deafening clamor of the gallery of voices stilled, as though someone had finally removed the blanket from their minds. But Vernestra would not dispel her barrier. She knew the darkness was coiled and ready to strike at any moment. As the meeting adjourned, those in attendance, including Nedic and Rovale, had departed. Their irritable dispositions suddenly diminished entirely. Yoda, Vernestra, and Muriel stood at the center of the chambers. She continued to console Muriel as his cries echoed. What light remained in Muriel had slowly begun to fade. Seated beside him, she looked up at Yoda.
What happened, Master?
Yoda sighed.
Difficult to say. Clouds everything the dark side does.
Even within these halls?
She responded.
Grow does the dark side. When fail, the light does.
Do you sense something evil?
Evil? No. Fear I sense in your Padawan. Forever vigilant we must be. Named must his fear be, before it is to be banished.
Yoda closed his eyes.
We were at each other's throats just moments ago.
Our job it is to keep the path lit for those who follow. Do this we must, every day. Every second, like watching a campfire it is.
Vernestra had come to a startling realization that day. The nightfall surrounding the lower council chambers had not, as she thought, followed her from hyperspace. Its provenance was sinister, and it had found her pupil, clung to him. The darkness she had felt on the day she chose him as a Padawan had always been there. In the years since, that darkness had never gone away. It had only found reason to sleep. She would make it her absolute priority to expunge this intruder from her student. She would make safe Muriel Kai. Then, 148 BBY. His store was dilapidated. All manner of sundries lay scattered in discord. It was clear he wasn't too keen on keeping things in order. May was told by her master that she would meet a contact on Alega for further details on the whereabouts of her quarry, Master Indara. But she did not expect someone as unkempt as this store to be them. She scanned and studied the front of the area, poring over every nook and cranny for small, minuscule details. She used every moment she could to employ what she had learned from her master, no matter how obscure. Appearing from just out of her periphery was a lanky young man, gaunt in appearance with messy locks draped across his face. He looked haggard, unkempt. This was who she was supposed to be contacting? Sure enough, this was the owner of the shop. This was her contact, Kymir. Welcome back. I'm not muted.
Oh, Cal, can you hear us? The audio.
I'm just joking. I unmuted just now. Dude, that was sick. We got some applause from Bully Gamer. So good. Can't wait for more audio inputs. Working now. Glad to hear it. Element, your Yoda is perfection. I try my best.
Try my best.
That was seriously fantastic. I'm glad you guys like it. Again, our chapter 2 is going to be very, very spicy. And Choco is going to have a voice in that as well. We're going to have a lot of guest voices. We might get James Arnold. I'm just kidding. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Petition to canonize when? Wish. Wish. We do what we can, with the tools at our disposal. The audio design for the sound effects, the voices, the writing.
Side note, my dog's hair smells fantastic.
Oh yeah? What's the scent?
Getting hints of lavender.
It's a good hypoallergenic. I'm always down to do more. Oh, of course, Nedic's not going anywhere. He's our resident. What about the droid attack on the bookies? But really quickly, if you guys joined midway through, I will now officially.
To get in the mood, all you have to do is play a couple rounds of ranked Marvel Rivals, and then that'll put you right in the right headspace.
The full chapter on its own is now public on the channel. So if you guys missed any amount of that, it came in midway through, you can now watch it in its entirety. It is now public. But yeah, what do we have to look forward to in chapter 2, Choco? I know we said it's gonna be spicy, but
I mean, more story, more backside. There's clearly a darkness that is overtaking our young. I was gonna say our young hero. I was like, but
young
yeah,
Meryl.
he's.
I guess just to kind of tease chapter 2, we are going forward in time. It's kind of like reverse chronology of the trilogy format. We're going forward in time, and we are, as you saw in the kind of sizzle scene at the end of that chapter, we're gonna get some tastes and morsels from current Acolyte narrative, and then we're gonna go back to the future. That makes sense. That sentence makes sense. Back to the future of chapter 1, and what
we're gonna do right here is we're gonna go back,
Rejoin.
way back, back in time.
But yeah, we're gonna have a lot more people involved in terms of voices. Choco will be making a guest appearance as Darth Bane. Just kidding. Give me your best Darth Bane.
Sirac! Face me!
That's Bane yelling on the roof for the Zabrak to come fight him.
My Bane,
before he beats the hell out of him.
My Bane is,
you betrayed me!
And then a few seconds later, oh. But yeah, we'll see. We're still in the writing process of it, obviously. I'm still trying to figure out how best we can utilize Choco's voice. But I have a feeling we'll need, and for those who want to contribute, I have a feeling we will need a Sith Pretender voice. I don't want to spoil too much, but if anybody has a Sith Pretender voice they've been working on, I am a real Sith. Something like that. But yeah, I'm glad that's out. It's been a long time. I've been working on this since September. We recorded voices around October, November? No. Around... we recorded voices around the summertime. And so,
would a Kermit voice work?
I mean, yeah, as a Sith Pretender, any voice really works. We need somebody to kind of be like... trying to claim the legacy and they don't have a right to it, It's really hard trying to solicit voice actors without telling them the story. But we'll see. Dexon, I know Dexon wants to contribute so badly, but I feel like it would be a disservice to his unwavering fealty to the Sith to make him a pretender. So we'll see what we can do. I know there's a lot of people that want to contribute to this project, but I only hope that we can do the story justice, and as all storytellers really hope for is kind of do it justice and kind of tell the story they want to tell, but have it be enjoyed, I know that, like, for me personally, I started chapter 1 with a very, very simple narrative, and which is why I needed to bring in Choco for chapter 2, because we are going to truly kind of bore into the simple setup that we plotted with chapter 1 and go really, really macro with it. I'm sure you're all aware, well, maybe Cal, because he has some insight, having provided insight during the writing of this chapter, of the obvious connection of why, at least the reason that we came up with in this narrative, why the stranger needs that helmet. But it'll all reveal itself, and we will get more and more closer to the stranger that we know from the Acolyte. And I was kind of contemplating with myself whether I wanted to kind of do a stinger of Kylo Ren's theme somewhere in there, but we're not at that level yet. We will. We'll see. I fear I must leave a lurk. Deploy the likes, chat. Yes, if you're here, deploy the likes and subscribe if you haven't already.
Are you leaving a lurk because you're going live? Everyone after this, check out our friend Cal4 streaming. Streaming stuff.
Cal4.com/Twitch TV. I mean, Twitch TV, twitch.tv/Cal4. Don't want to self-promo? Why?
Yeah, we want to promo you.
We're always promoting other people on this show. Is there anything else we need to talk about, though, as it pertains to this week?
Nothing really as it pertains to this week. It makes me a little sad that I have not seen Marianne in the chat. We know they did provide a voice here, but they also gave their panel yesterday or the day before. Yesterday. And I want to know how it went. Hopefully we can have them on and let us know how it went and what they spoke about, and just wish them all the best. I think they're doing incredible stuff.
Currently, Marianne's at Disney. Yeah. Whether that's Disneyland or World, probably World.
I imagine World.
Yeah. Hope everyone's having fun. yeah, we really don't have much to talk about other than the premiere of that chapter. We have the Bad Batch Sanctuary novel that's coming out soon in August, and then we have Trials of the Jedi coming June. We have a new writer for the new Jedi Order, and I believe that will do it for this episode. A really, really quick one, a really kind of succinct episode. As I said, if you joined midway through, that chapter in a standalone video has been made public, so go check it out if you missed any of that chapter. But let's see. Prepare yourselves for next week as we introduce a new game called Second Guess, which is essentially what happens next. But I like the name Second Guess because it is a second of Star Wars footage in which you must guess what happens next in the second second of the scene that we show. So if I were to show you a clip of Lee from Rush Hour 2 saying, "I told you already," and then and we asked what happens next, take a second guess. You know, your answer would be, "You did?" I said, "Boom." Anyway, that's the gist of it. But yeah, that's it for this episode. A really short one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for all of your, I suppose, kind words and for enjoying Chapter 1. Chapter 2 will not take as long of a time since I've already built up a sound library. That is the biggest part of doing an audiobook or an audio drama, is kind of building up your sound stage from zero.
Yeah.
So,
oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you. I actually have all of the sounds from The Force Unleashed. I have its entire sound library.
I'm gonna need that, especially for Chapter 2. You know.
I'll have to find it somewhere.
We'll get to writing the rest of Chapter 2, and we'll go into sound production, and it won't be as long as the wait for this one, but we'll keep you guys apprised. Is that the word? Apprised of the situation. So shout out to everybody in the chat on the TikTok side and on YouTube side, and I don't know why, but TikTok stopped showing up in chat. But we have from Patricia Jackson, nice job, fantastic. Yoda, Cubcoast, damn, got here late. We'll catch the VOD. It's actually live right now on the channel in its own standalone video, so you can catch it right now. And so that you can catch it, we are going to end things, because that's it. On to the next one.
For Light and for Life,
we are all Miral Kai.
And may Darth Biceps be with you.
Thank you,
Always.
guys.